Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Thursday, December the 8th, 2016. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. As always, before we get going, the ways to get involved with our show, interact with us, and have your voice heard, you can email us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411. And you can also feel free to find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook and make sure that you like us here tonight. And you probably already noticed it. A lot, very short with the reminders and very short. But very quickly got right into the show. We're going to be doing some different things over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight briefly because, well, I'll get to that in just a few moments. But first, let me explain to you all a little bit about what's been going on this week with the show. Obviously, we did not have a show on Tuesday because of a number of reasons. One, I had a problem getting on the air. That was one of the reasons. Two, my co-host wasn't feeling well. By the time I was ready to get on the air, he wasn't feeling well. So to me, it just seemed like nothing was going right at that particular moment. So we were just better off closing it out and just, not doing a show that night. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get these kind of situations where this kind of stuff happens. And you just have no choice. Sometimes it's better off canceling or postponing. And this is a week that we were just going to have a normal week anyway. There wasn't a lot we absolutely had to get to or anything like that. So if you're going to have a postponement, I'm glad it was this week and not next week when there's some different things I want to do next week. So I'm glad if it was going to happen. I'm glad it happened here this week. So now, obviously, we are on the air quite late tonight. That one's on me. That one's on me. It's just one of those situations where I ran a little late, and then I had some other issues going on. So I do apologize for that. Normally, personal stuff doesn't do that. I mean, unless I tell you all. But in this case, it did. So I do apologize for that. I'm not going to get into the reasons. I'll just leave it at that. Now, real quickly here, off the top, because a lot's been said about this year, and for many people, how awful it's been, from the violence to the election to gosh, so many different things. We've lost so many celebrities. We've lost so many beloved icons. We continue to lose icons. We continue to lose beloved figures because I'm not sure how many know this. I'm sure a lot of people do know this because it's if you go on Twitter and Facebook, you're going to find it. Today, we've lost John Glenn. John Glenn, of course, for those, again, that do not know, for us that live in where we live, in the Syracuse area, it's a big deal. I mean, we have John Glenn Boulevard. We have a street named after him, a major road named after him. He was an engineer and astronaut. He was a senator from Ohio. He became the first American in 1962 to orbit the Earth, circling it 3 times. Huge figure. He's been dancing. I mean, he's been. If you don't know, he's been not Dance with the Stars. What the heck am I thinking about? If you don't know John Glenn, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. He's a historical figure. He was a distinguished fighter pilot in World War II and Korea. Just a huge, again, another beloved icon. Involved in NASA. Again, he ran for U.S. Senate in Ohio, and he was a senator from 1974 to 1999. Just again, a beloved figure, a beloved icon, and just another person gone way too soon. Again, it's crazy how many icons we've lost in 2016, icons, beloved names, beloved figures, and then everything else on top of it. The kind of year it's been this year, it's just I don't have any words. I don't. It's every so often you get one of these years, and this is one of them. This is a year you just want to put in the rear view mirror, and then that's kind of what it's been this year. So, to the family, friends, and loved ones of John Glenn, our deepest condolences, thoughts, and prayers, and may he rest in peace. Just an icon. Um, just may he rest in peace. It's a sad, sad tragedy. Another beloved figure lost this year. So I want to get to that real quickly because that's obviously has to be commented on. Now, as I said before, tonight you are gonna notice some different things here on the show. You've already noticed some different things in terms of how I started the show. It was a little quick, very quick. We're gonna try to be like that from now on. One of the things I'm going to be honest with you folks, okay? One of the things that became apparent to me, and I'm going to give, I was hoping my co-host would be on right now. But okay, I'll wait for my co-host to come on and talk about this because I want to have him to hear it. But first, here he comes right now. He's going to be popping up in about 5 seconds, hopefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so we'll wait for him to pop up. So before he officially comes on, let me just briefly talk about what's going to be going on here. Tonight, we have a mixed bag of things for you from sports, entertainment, and wrestling. I'll go into more detail about that later. As for what's coming up, tomorrow we have the In the Spotlight Football Blitz, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. So make sure that you tune in for that. I'll be broadcasting and streaming live here on YouTube Live, so make sure you tune in for that. We'll talk about last week's NFL and college football developments. Obviously, the college football playoff rankings are out. There's a lot to talk about there. We'll do all that. Set the stage for this weekend in the NFL. Talk about tonight's Thursday night football game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. All of that on tomorrow's program, so make sure you do not miss it. Next week, hopefully, we'll have 3 shows. That's the plan. Can't promise it's going to go forward, but, some things happen. So next Tuesday, we'll do our usual. Next Tuesday, we're going to have our college basketball preview. So you can look forward to that. We'll kind of give an overview of the season, make some predictions, all that good stuff. And then, of course, the usual sports stuff. Anything outside of football that we have to cover, we will cover. And then we'll do a little bit of wrestling as well. Actually, no, I take that back. We won't do a little bit of wrestling. We're going to leave that for Thursday. We'll do a little entertainment, some box office stuff, all that good stuff. That will be on Tuesday's program. On Thursday's show, we will be doing an all wrestling show previewing WWE's Roadblock pay-per-view. And we'll do what we usually do, go over all the matches, make predictions, all that good stuff on Thursday. So if you'd like to submit a question or comment, you may do so before the show and, of course, during the show on Thursday. There's my wife. Isn't she pretty? Nice cameo, babe. So so we have that on Thursday, and then we have on Friday, again, another edition of the In the Spotlight Football Blitz. It's weird how when you did that, it got all black and white. I don't know what that was about. But anyway, we'll have another edition In the Spotlight Football Blitz next Friday. As for what's going to happen the next 2 weeks after that, we'll get more into that next week. Couple little things. I'm not sure if my co-host is here or not, but if he isn't, oh well, we got to move on. Really quickly, like I said, there's going to be some changes. You already noticed some at the top of the show. I moved very quickly through everything to get through, even quicker than I've been trying to do. We are going to be doing things quite differently going forward here. And we're going to be experimenting. We're going to be trying different things along the way. I've said things like this before, and sometimes things change, sometimes they don't. Quite frankly, I'm going to give my wife a lot of credit for this because she kind of got on my case about it on Monday. She kind of lit a fire under my behind. Okay, that's that not literally. I mean figuratively. Um, this is something, and you know, we recently celebrated our 6 year anniversary on the air back in October, and I look back on the 6 years. I look at where we were, and I look at where we are, and I sit there and think to myself, okay, so where are we? What are we? What do we want to be? Um, Now, it'd be easy for me to say, well, have a job, got things going on, let's walk away and let's just call it quits. Because honestly, I've been thinking about that for about 3 months. Then there's the part of me that has, for quite a while now, have had a passion for this, have had a passion for what we talk about, for what we do. Then we have our fans, our fan base, our loyal fan base that's followed us from platform to platform, that's still there for us, even when I don't feel like the shows are up to par, they're still here for us. They're there, they support us, they, you know, feedback, all that good stuff, and have been there since the beginning. Then I think about them and I think about what I wanted to do to make this show all that it can be. And quite frankly, when I think about that, I'm disappointed because I've slacked off. You know, I used to complain about others slacking off. I slacked off. You know, we made this move to Google and YouTube, and to be honest, it hasn't really worked very well. A lot of people don't like the way it's come off. A lot of people don't think it's helped the show. We lost Jeff Tech, who was going to be returning in 2017. That's going to help us because we're missing a dynamic. You know, I just feel like since we made this move, the show hasn't been what it needs to be. You know, we're not discussing, we're recapping. We're not.
Nice.
You're having issues, Mike. I can't. I'm hearing you break up. So, um, it's really this. It's really what this is about. Is this when we started the show? Mike will tell if he was on the air, he'd tell you this, Mike. You're still not unable. You're breaking up. Like there's like one. You're saying like, bro. Yeah, we lost him. He's having some problems on his end. When we started this show, and if Mike was on the air, Mike would tell you this. We started this show with the idea that it'd be like PT. Pardon the interruption. Um, okay. Sorry about that, folks. Had an issue I had to handle. Um, all right. So as I was saying, oh, and Mike has a
Ha 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 ha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a thing now. You're breaking up. You're frozen. You're frozen like Elsa. You should let it go. I went there. Mhm. Um, I don't know if he's working or not. Hello? Are you there? Oh.
Okay. Are we back? We're back. All right, so folks, I am sorry about that. We lost the network connection. I'm not sure what's really going on. We seem to be having some issues tonight. So hopefully we're back up and running here. I apologize for all the delays and interruptions. I don't know what's really going on. Everything was fine, and then we all of a sudden lost the connection. So I apologize for that. Um, so I will see. We'll look into it and see what's going on. Um, Okay. Again, sorry, folks. I don't know what's going on. Everything just kind of keeps going crazy here. Hopefully, again, hopefully I don't jinx us. Hopefully it's resolved. So I apologize. I don't know what's going on. We're getting muted. We're losing the camera. It's crazy. Network connection issues. It's one of those nights. There is some weather nearby. So storm, lake effect, and all that kind of stuff nearby. I'm not sure if that's having effect. There is some heavy winds too. Maybe that's a problem. I don't know. But please do bear with us. I apologize. It's been one of those weeks. When we have bad weeks, we have bad weeks. Whether we get delays, postponements, all kinds of stuff. So I do apologize for all the delays and everything else. So as I was saying, so we can kind of get going here. Um, we Mike will tell you if he was on the air that when we back in college we discussed the idea of doing a show like this, but it was going to be a back and forth. We're going to pick the top topics of that particular day or that particular week or whatever the heck we were going to do, and we were going to talk about them back and forth, and there'd be disagreements and there'd be discussion back and forth, and like a PTI or like you see with First and 10 and all this kind of stuff, that kind of thing, and at the start, I think we had that, and I think at times we've had that. But I can definitely say over the last year we haven't had that. Over the last couple years, I can probably say we haven't had that. Somewhere along the way, we kind of got into and by we I mean mostly me, gotten into the habit of more or less recapping and kind of giving you all what maybe you probably already know, instead of just taking the topics at hand and discussing them and going into the issues and that kind of thing. One of the best shows that we ever done, some of the best shows we ever done were our NCAA shows. We talked about some schools that may be under sanctions or controversial issues in the NCAA. When we did those kind of shows, those were some of our best shows. And we haven't done shows like that in a long time. Now, admittedly, it's easy to do those kind of shows with sports more so than entertainment. Entertainment is you're talking about news and stuff like connection. Not that I'm going to blame him because I know it's not his fault, but every time you come on the air, Mike, I lose the connection. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that.
I don't know what the deal is with that either.
Remember when we didn't have problems like this?
Now is not time for a crappy member berries joke, Brian, and you damn well know it.
Anyway, like I'm saying, just to make a long story short, we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, and it's a good time to do this because during the holidays, people are kind of come and go. Over the next couple of weeks, we are going to be transitioning some of the things that you all love about this show into a more into what I think we need to be doing. Instead, more discussion, provoke discussion, that kind of thing. And you're going to notice that here tonight because, yeah, we have some things to talk about, but we're not going to go over and go, hey, remember what happened on Raw on Monday night? This person did this person did this. No, we're going to be more pointed than that. And this is also going to make us more efficient and save us some time. And hopefully, the idea would be if by doing this that it involves other people as well. Because it's kind of hard, and Mike's going to roll his eyes at me. And he's going to think I'm full of crap right now, but I'm being completely honest right now, completely honest about everything. It's kind of hard to expect Mike or anybody else on this show to want to be involved when I sit here and talk for 25 minutes.
You don't say.
You should applaud me for my self-realization.
I can't applaud somebody for speaking the obvious.
So anyway, so you're going to, starting tonight and going forward, you're going to notice that. And again, entertainment's going to be a little harder to do, but I think we can do it. Wrestling, it's easy. Sports, it's easy. Entertainment, it's kind of hard to do it, but we'll figure it out. So over these next few weeks, you'll notice us kind of transitioning things a little bit, and it'll become in handy when we make our move back to our more audio friendly, to an audio platform more so than a visual one. So, all right, so that went on longer than it needed to, but that's because we kept going on and off the air. So I apologize for that. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. Again, I credit my wife because she kind of gave me her feedback, and it was brutal, but it was the truth. And another thing I'd like to ask from our audience is this. Over these next couple of weeks, please let us know what you think about the show, about what we're doing, all that kind of stuff. Be honest. I don't care how brutal you are. Be honest. Because we're going to really, really kind of look at what you're saying and amend it to what we're doing. So make sure that you please give us your honest assessments because that's going to come in very much handy. All right. So with that being said, let's move on. We got some topics to talk about. First off, we're going to talk about, again, the big story in sports this week outside of football, which we'll cover tomorrow. We don't cover football tonight, is the MLB winter meetings, which have, we've had busier winter meetings, admittedly, but this was definitely better than last year. And I guess now that it's over, maybe it's a good thing we're talking about it now instead of Tuesday because now it's over. Obviously, the big takeaway is generally the Red Sox, apparently for many, won the offseason. Making the Sale move, Mitch Moreland, Thornton, that whole thing. And look, and the Yankees did all they could really do. Now, we could go into all the moves and all that, but to me, there's one thing that's really I think is something that I think is a general theme. And one thing that kind of encompasses all of them. Okay, well, not one thing, but a couple of things, a couple of factors. First off is this. You are seeing the top thing is teams are getting more financially conscious. Now, a couple of years ago, what was the big thing? Much to my chagrin, sabermetrics. Which to this day, I don't understand the point. I mean, I understand the point, but it doesn't really help in building a good team. Now it's all about being financially responsible in baseball. What I think is hilarious, and Michael maybe speak to this, I don't know. It's like the MLB and the NBA have flip-flopped. You go back to 10 years ago, teams would go on spending sprees in Major League Baseball. There was only about 7 or 8 teams that didn't do that. Now the NBA is kind of what the Major League Baseball was, where you get all these teams wanting to build super teams and going on spending sprees. Meanwhile, in baseball, they're like, okay, after 3 or 4 years, when you're letting these players go because you're bringing somebody up from the minors because you don't want to go over your payroll because you don't want to pay a high luxury tax and all that good stuff. The Yankees are even involved in that kind of stuff now, where they don't want to do it. They didn't even sign a free agent last year. And then, to me, the screwiest part of this is if you look around at what fans are saying, fans seem to care more about their team getting under a luxury tax threshold than they do about their team winning. Oh, we can't contend this year. Let's worry about next year. We shouldn't be signing that player. We're not in contention this year. Okay, so here's number 2 point that I want to make. How do you know that signing that player is not putting you in contention? Let's take the Yankees, for instance. I've seen countless things over the last 24 hours about, well, Yankees shouldn't have signed Chapman for 5 years because they're not going to contend this year. The Red Sox are better. The Red Sox are going to win the division. So what? You get a wild card spot. You appear in the wild card game. You lose that game. What's it got you? So if we're going to go with that kind of logic, okay? If we're going to go with that kind of logic, then why ever you can make that defeat? You can have that defeatist attitude every year, no matter what kind of team you have. You could say, well, I'm not going to sign this player because, well, you know what? That team over there in our division, boy, they got 3 free agents to my 1. They did better than I did. I don't think we have a chance at beating them. Then what do? Not going to go out there and not going to go get that player because the other team got 3 players and you didn't? You could twist this any which way you want every year and say you should go get this person or go get that person, or it's not worth it because you don't think you're going to win. You can say that any year. That's a defeatist attitude. Look back at 2008 when the Phillies got to the World Series. That year, Tampa. Most people thought Tampa was 2 years away. Tampa goes to the World Series that year. In the offseason, if they went out and signed somebody or brought somebody up or whatever, do you think they could have easily said, you know what, we're not going to contend this year. Let's not do this. Let's not do that. Now, granted, they didn't have a lot of money. They didn't do that, but still, they could have done that, and they might not have made it. Think to the Cubs 2 years ago. When the Cubs went to the National League Championship Series to play the Mets, nobody thought the Cubs were going to have a good year that year. Everybody thought the Cubs were a year away. And they made the playoffs. They made the National League Championship Series. They lost there, yes, but nobody thought they were going to contend that year. You never know what that signing could do. That doesn't mean you spend recklessly. That doesn't mean you go out and get every single damn player. You're smart about it, but you also you do what you need to do to put the best team on the field that you can under the circumstances that you have. And that leads me to my 3rd point. When did people forget that every year it's about winning? Like, isn't that the whole point? Isn't that why you root for a team? Isn't that why you're a fan? Now, that doesn't mean you quit when things get tough. No, it doesn't. But if you're just going to say, well, we need 3 or 4 years to rebuild our team, and it's accept the fact that you should have 3 or 4 losing seasons. I mean, seriously? It's okay to just write off a season before it starts? Because that's what I've been seeing, whether you're a Yankee fan or a Blue Jay fan or an Oriole fan, whatever. I've been seeing that over and over and over again. As well, you know what? Why bother signing this guy to a 4-year contract for that much money? It's a waste of money. We're not going to contend this year. We can't beat the Red Sox. We can't beat the Indians, blah, 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 blah. Why bother with it? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because if you get it as a wild card and things play in your favor, maybe you upset them and maybe you get to the World Series. Do you think anybody thought the Colorado Rockies were going to make the World Series in 2007? Or Tampa in 2008? Or Texas in 2010, 2011? Do you think anybody thought that? You don't know what can happen. And you shouldn't act like it before the season even starts. So my takeaway from all this is this. Somewhere along the way, people became more worried about not just the fans, but the teams themselves. Yeah, I'm not saying spend it recklessly, but when you're worried more about getting under a luxury tax threshold, which I understand for some teams is more important than others. But if you're going to let that be a major cog in compromising your team to the point where you're just going to accept the fact you're going to have 3 or 4 losing seasons and stay in mediocrity, then why bother? Then you know what? Then don't own a team. Don't be involved with a team. Don't be a fan, because you're writing things off before they even happen, and you don't really care about winning. And again, I'm not advocating for everybody to have $400 million payrolls. I'm not advocating for reckless spending. What I am advocating for is for people to realize that you go out and try to put together the best team you can. You get your budget. You go out and try to get the best players that fit within your budget, and you go from there. But you don't say when your team signs somebody that makes your team better, you don't sit there and say, well, we shouldn't have made this signing. Well, in 3 years, his arm's going to fall off. Worry about that in 3 years. Why are you worried about now? In 3 years, maybe you can trade him, or maybe you just buy out the rest of the contract, or you trade for somebody else. Come on now. Unless you've got a team full of bad contracts, you shouldn't be talking about it. So my takeaway is this. People have the desire to win, aside from a few teams, does not seem to be there. It's getting lost in long-term planning. Yes, you need to have a long-term vision. You have to have a direction, yes. But there's a little too much of that. There's a little too much focus on that, and not enough on how you're going to keep people, how you're going to win now, and how you're going to keep asses in the seats through the season. Because people aren't just going to keep sitting there going, well, I'll wait till 2018, but I'll keep showing up to the games. No, they're not going to do that. People are not going to want to keep seeing a mediocre product. They're not going to keep doing that just because someday it might get good. And then what happens if you put all your effort into, well, we got a good farm system, and in 3 or 4 years, it's going to be great. Our team's going to be great. What happens if those prospects don't pan out? You just gave out 3 or 4 years of you just gave 3 or 4 years of mediocrity to your fan base for a pipe dream because these prospects didn't turn out. Where did that get you? Nowhere. You don't think like that. You don't think about 2018 or 2019. Think about 2017 right now. You worry about 2018 next year. Yes, keep some prospects thinking that, okay, we need to have these guys. They might be able to help us this year and then next year. Yes, you think about the future to an extent, but you don't let that be your sole focus. Because when that happens, you lose your fan base, and when that happens, you go into a really, really big rut that could also have major financial implications, and not everybody's the Yankees or the Red Sox and protect themselves from that. So to me, you want to be responsible, be responsible. You want to look out for the future as well, that's fine. But in no way, shape, or form does that not mean that you don't go out there during the offseason, during a trade deadline in the midseason, and try to put together the best product on the field for yourself and for your fans. So you put the best effort out there within the limits that you have to win games. That's what you do. You don't write off a season before it starts. That is my takeaway from this, is that somewhere along the way, this is a trend that disgusts me, because it's why you're interested in sports. You root for a team, you want to see them succeed, you want to see them win. That's what you want to see. That's what it's about. That's when it's fun. So you give kudos to the Red Sox because, yes, do they have much of a farm system left? No, they don't. But when they win 110 games and their fan base is excited and they go to the World Series, if everybody stays healthy, do you think their fan base is going to care that there's no top prospect in AAA? No, they're not going to give a crap. They'll worry about that in 3 years. And by that, and you know what? With the money they have, they don't have to worry about that in 3 years. They can go out and get a couple top tier free agents and then worry about whether they get prospects in AAA some way else. While they're waiting for guys to develop in AAA, they can still have a top tier team. and build their farm system up. It's about winning. So the Red Sox get an A+. Now, are they the winners of the offseason? Right now, they are. It's still got 2 months to go. You give the Yankees a plus as well because they did what they needed to do, and they still got work to do, but they did what they needed to do. They got the 2 things that they needed, a DH within their budget and a closer. They got the job done. There's teams out there that didn't get the job done. Detroit needs to make some moves. They need to get rid of some guys. Just like the Royals got rid of Wade Davis because they need to clear some salary to make other moves. Fine. Detroit needs to do the same thing. They need to figure out what they want to do. They get an F. They didn't get anything done. They didn't even get involved in anything. Kansas City at least did. Cubs let go of Chapman, but they go get Wade Davis. They get a plus. Dodgers get Rich Hill. They haven't done anything with Jansen yet, but they're in on that. You give them a plus. I know people are going crazy about the Nationals. Why would you give up the top pitching prospect in baseball? What the hell's the deal there? They did what they had to do to win now. They went out and got Adam Eaton. And it's a guy whose stock was dropping. Again, this is my point. This is a prospect that was considered one of the top pitching prospect in baseball. And they traded him. Why? Because they said there's people in the organization that were losing faith in him. This is what I'm talking about. Prospects can look good, but in 2-3 years, they can fall completely apart. That's why you can't bank your whole franchise future on them. But they made a move for now, and they get a nice young outfielder, and they're ready to win now. And the White Sox make a deal and get some prospects back because they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They're in a complete rebuild. So you give them somewhat of a plus because they knew what they needed to be. Marlins, failure. Because they didn't get anything done. They're trying to get closers, but they're not doing a very good job. Melanson went to the Giants. They get a plus. They address the need. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now because honestly, that's a takeaway. More than any of these moves is what I said. And it just boggles my mind how anybody that's a fan of a sports team can have a defeatist attitude like that. Since when do casual fans, sit back and worry more about what the payroll is instead of what kind of player they get? Are you serious? Even when the NBA was worried about, NBA teams were worried about budgets, I've never seen NBA fans doing that. Like, oh, wow, we can't get that player. We're going to be over the cap. What do you care? So, Mike, am I crazy, or is this like is this bizarre world?
Why are you still talking? I don't care.
I know you don't care. I was just trying to get you interested.
Baseball is inherently, at this time, boring. Sabermetrics has made it more boring, and nobody wants to win except for the Cubs.
Well,
and even they didn't want to win in the World Series.
Clearly, the Red Sox want to win. All the money.
Clearly, the Red Sox want to win, but they're nowhere near being ready to win. They have to rebuild their whole franchise now that their best player has retired, and unfortunately, they don't have a farm system to speak of. What the hell? The Yankees have a farm system, but they just don't have the talent, and they're really, really old. The Cubs right now are currently in their prime. They were a year ahead of schedule. Their farm system is flourishing, and they are the team to beat in the NL. Meanwhile, there is no reason why the Indians can't repeat in the AL. Because the Indians are at the top of their game, and everybody's currently jacking off with sabermetrics.
Wow. Awesome, Mike. Awesome.
I don't care about baseball.
All right. Well, I said all I needed to say. At least it wasn't interesting winter meetings. We'll see what happens going forward here. Usually you see the week after the winter meetings to me is always one of the most interesting because, when you see that, usually there's a lot of deals that don't get done and then they kind of pick up the week after. So I think we'll be seeing some more movement over the next week or so, which should make things very interesting. But at least it was interesting. Like I said, there was just some crazy stuff going on that Man, I don't know. Um, really quickly on the college basketball circuit, there were a couple of big developments. We don't have time to go over every single thing. We're going to have a college basketball preview show on Tuesday, so we'll go over it in more detail then. But I do want to comment on a couple of three particular teams that I think are the highlights of this week: Baylor, UCLA, and oh my gosh, I just lost my thing again, page again. Baylor, UCLA, and Indiana. Obviously, UCLA did what they did to Kentucky in Kentucky, scoring the most points in the John Calipari era off of Kentucky. It was a dominant win. Baylor's beating good teams left and right. Indiana beat North Carolina. Now, obviously, when you see these kind of developments, you wonder, are these teams overrated? They're soft schedules. None of these teams have played soft schedules. Baylor's had one of the more impressive non-conferences that I can remember. They've had quality win after quality win after quality win. I mean, Baylor and UCLA are both unbeaten. They both leaped up in the rankings. So the question everybody would say is, do you think UCLA, Baylor, and Indiana are back? I would say yes. I would say right now the team I have a lot of faith in is Baylor, more so than UCLA and Indiana. I think UCLA and Indiana are kind of those teams that are kind of right at, they're trying to break the glass ceiling. They're kind of right there. You want to see more from them first before you think that they're like, holy crap, they could be Final Four teams. Baylor right now to me is a Final Four team. They've been consistent. They're explosive. They're dominant. Like they just. I mean, for years, me and Mike would comment on how overrated Baylor would be from season to season. This is not an overrated Baylor team. This is a very good Baylor team. And I never thought I would say this, but I'm actually looking quite forward to the Kansas-Baylor games this year because this is not – Kansas is going to have a rough time with Baylor. There is a lot of matchup issues there. They got good length. They got good athleticism. They can shoot the ball. They go to the their ability to go to the basket, to me, is probably the best in college basketball right now. They are a really, really good team. Baylor right now is of the three teams right now, to me, has the potential to go and win a national championship right now. If you look at them, you see what they've done, you see who they've beaten. They look like a team that can do that because they can only get better. UCLA and Indiana right now are those kind of teams you see going to the second weekend, but you're not sure yet about if they can go any further than that. But they've definitely been impressive. Mike, do you have any thoughts here on UCLA, Baylor, and Indiana?
I think UCLA is fool's gold at the moment.
Okay.
All right. They've played a solid non-conference schedule. They're doing exceptionally well. However, they're going to go right into the Pac-12. The Pac-12 sucks.
No kidding.
So they are going to kind of play – eventually they're going to start playing down to their competition because the Pac-12 sucks. And once that happens, they're going to drop a few games.
Sure.
And I don't know if they're going to get back to the glory of the non-Pac-12 schedule because they're a tournament team.
Yeah.
They are. But the Pac-12 sucks. It's a fact of life. Like how snow is cold and water's wet, and the Pac-12 sucks. Baylor is overperforming at the moment. Now, a lot of the issues that I have with Michigan State, I have with Baylor. Baylor was fool's gold the last couple of years. Yeah, they're always ranked high. They always seem to knock off Kansas once, and they always end up in somewhere between a 3 and a 5 seed. Sometimes there are 2, occasionally there are 1, but they're fool's gold. It's not real. Now, Baylor's got a long way to go to prove that they're not fool's gold this year. Now, yes, you're looking forward to the matchup with Kansas. I'm going to spoil it for you. Okay, are you ready? They're going. How many times are they playing? Twice, right? Because it's the Big 12.
Sure.
They're going to split it because they always split it. And by the time it was like, oh, we're going to get that third decisive game, Kansas usually ends up playing Kansas State in the Big 12 final because Baylor got knocked off in the semis or the quarters in especially crappy years. So they're going to split their game with Kansas. Are they going to be good games? Absolutely. But time will tell if they're fool's gold again this year. History tells me, yes, they are fool's gold. They have to prove me wrong. Much like Michigan State, who sucks. What was the other team you talked about?
Indiana.
Indiana. God, isn't Indiana doing really, really good right now? Didn't they just knock off that team?
North
Who was
Carolina.
that team? North Carolina. They knocked them off real hard, didn't they?
Yep.
Now, Carolina, they're going to be really good come the ACC. Watch out for them. They're going to be very, very scary. Indiana, they're right now, they are poised to run through the Big Ten. Now, the Big Ten is essentially the conference version of Baylor. They are fool's gold. They are a conference that people think is the best conference in the country, but they're not. They're really not. The Big Ten, as a conference in general, is maybe third or fourth. Maybe. Indiana should dominate the Big Ten because their best competition, Michigan State, sucks. North Carolina, however, will rebound, and they are going to be a dominant force in the ACC. I do have faith in North Carolina, those cheating bastards. I'm wondering when the NCAA will come hard on them. They're not going to come down hard on them. They're just going to come down hard on the Profits. I'm waiting for you to figure out that one.
I did.
Good.
I did.
There you go.
Okay.
So North Carolina will just do exceptionally well. However, there is a team to watch. And that team is the number one team in the nation, the Villanova Wildcats. Why? Because they're running roughshod over everybody. Now, right now, it doesn't look that impressive with the Big Five. They're going to win the Big Five again. Probably won't be a problem. However, they're kicking everybody else's ass, too. Villanova wants to repeat. And there are few teams in this country. I know, Brian, you look like you're about to shit yourself in fear. And there, yes, you should be scared for you stupid Blue Devils and the underperforming Orange, which I'll get to in a second. Villanova Wildcats are poised. They look ready to repeat, and there are only a few teams that can really stop them. Now, are they missing Archie Diacono a little bit this year? Absolutely, but then again, didn't everybody lose major pieces? Didn't everybody?
Yeah.
So it's just, and Villanova is a great program with a beautiful, wonderful, masterful head coach, and Jay Wright.
Oh Jesus!
They're looking to repeat. They're looking to repeat, and there aren't many teams that can stop them. Now, as for our underperforming Orange, you dropped 3 in a row, huh? To Connecticut, who is not good this year. South Carolina, who is improved this year, and they're looking to compete in maybe the big SEC, who is, of course, a shit conference for wankers. Hashtag shit conference for wankers. Now, South Carolina is improved. And so then Syracuse lost. Who was the other team Syracuse lost to?
UConn.
I said UConn.
Oh, yeah. South Carolina, UConn, and Wisconsin.
All right, the fact that they lost to Wisconsin is embarrassing enough. The fact they lost to South Carolina is surprising, and the fact that they lost to UConn speaks volumes to how poorly they're playing. They can only this SU team at this moment can only play offense or defense, but never both at the same time.
Sounds familiar.
So they might want to figure out how to learn how to play offense and defense together in one game. So that is the local cue, the local view, I should say, viewpoint of our local team, the Syracuse Orange, and of course South Carolina from the SEC, a hashtag shit conference for wankers, hashtag shit conference for wankers. Although won't Kentucky be good again this year? No way. There.
Um, just to recap, because if you are there, and there are a lot of people that don't buy Baylor like I do. I understand that. They beat Oregon when they were number 4. Obviously, Oregon's dropped off, but they've also beaten VCU, Michigan State. And Michigan State, we all know they've had issues. They beat Louisville. They beat Xavier. Now, again, if you don't want to buy any of that, which is fine, then you're going to have opportunities within the Big 12. They're going to be seeing Iowa State, which I know people that team gets overrated a lot, quite often. They're going to be seeing West Virginia, who's made some big statements already this year. They're going to be seeing Kansas. They're going to be seeing. So they got some opportunities. So and I'm going to tell you, their RPI and their strength of schedule is going to look really, really good. Especially with what they've already done. So, but anyway, we're going to have a full preview on Tuesday. We're going to kind of go over a lot of things and all that. So we'll leave the rest of it for that. But I just want to touch on those 3 teams because they were the highlights, in my opinion, of this past week. We got all right. So we're going to move out of sports. We're going to move in to a little bit of entertainment now. And I'm going to say really quickly because we don't have a lot of time. I can do this very quickly because there's not much to talk about. This past weekend was a lull weekend at the box office. Clearly, we all knew Moana was going to be the big winner. It was. Something interesting to behold here. Through 15 days, Moana had made about 15 million more than Frozen. So it might not seem like it, but it had the bigger opening, which has gotten up ahead of Frozen. So it's doing very, very well. Last weekend was a low weekend. We all talked about that. We knew that going in. We knew Moana was going to repeat. It did. And 28.2 million was a drop of 50%. A lot of people seem to think that was more than they thought. I don't know. Again, you're not school's not out. I don't know what people expected. I think the interesting thing, if you really look at this, is Fantastic Beasts, which dropped almost 60% to 18.1. For a third week showing, given the comp with Moana out, Fantastic Beasts pulling in 18.1 million is actually pretty good. To me, that's a little bit more than I would have thought. So I think you got to get maybe Fantastic Beasts is still, because especially since it skews older, is still pulling more people in and maybe hurting Moana a little bit as far as retention goes. Moana's that kind of movie that I can see doing a little bit better as you get closer to Christmas, kids being off more. Right now, Fantastic Beasts might have the better holds and retention because it plays more to older audiences. And also, something to keep in mind, animated movies don't get as many showings at night as a movie like Fantastic Beasts does. So that kind of hurts a little bit too at this time of year. When school's not out, if you're an animated movie, you don't see as much because of that. So Arrival continues to hold well, 7.2 million. It's done very, very well. Allied, a little over 7 million. Doctor Strange held very well for its fifth week, 6.6 million, and yet Trolls were under 5 million with 4.6. So generally, it was a low weekend. Incarnate pulled in 2.5 million. We all suspected it wouldn't do well. I thought it'd do a little bit better than this, but it didn't. $5 million budget. It's not the end of the world. It's already up to 3 million. It'll probably at least make its budget back and call it a day, but again, it was about the holdovers this week, and nothing really shocking. So there's not a lot to talk about. Again, if you want to look for anything, Fantastic Beasts held maybe better, a little bit better than expected, and versus Moana was maybe held a little worse than expected. So this week you have two new movies, one of which has a little bit of momentum, and the other which doesn't have any. The one with momentum is Office Christmas Party. It's a comedy film from Paramount, opening in 3,210 theaters. Starring Jennifer Aniston, Jason Bateman, Kate McKinnon, and T.J. Miller. Also Olivia Munn as well. So it's got a little bit of a Horrible Boss vibe to it. The people behind Horrible Boss are involved. R-rated. It's not getting the best reviews, but there hasn't been a comedy in a while, especially an R-rated one. And what real comedies you did get over the course of the fall did not do well. So this is something that might do okay. I won't say great. It might do okay just because there haven't been a lot of comedies, particularly R-rated, in the last 4, 5, 6 months. So it's only got a $45 million budget, R-rated. So again, R-rating, you got to keep that into account when you're doing this, looking at this. So we'll see how it goes. Honestly, I can't see it pulling in more than 20 million this weekend. And it's going to be a close race between Office Christmas Party and Moana for first. I think that's a given. The second biggest release is a release that's Now, I mentioned two movies. There's really three, so I should clarify that. There is a movie expanding its release into 1,598 theaters from Europacope, a drama thriller called Miss Sloane. This stars Jessica Chastain and Mark Strong. It's got a lot of awards buzz. It's R-rated. Check your local listings, theater listings. Again, it's not going to be shown everywhere, only in 1,598 theaters, but that is the second biggest release this weekend. The third biggest release is the bounce back romantic comedy from Viva Pictures Distribution. That's a new one. 600 plus theaters that it's going to be opening in. Don't expect much. If it makes $2 million, consider yourself lucky, especially based on the 600 theaters. So this weekend, if anything does anything remotely interesting, it's going to be Office Christmas Party. The race between that and Moana is the story of the weekend. How much does Moana hold? It might have dropped a little bit more than expected. Sometimes that means the next week you drop less. I'm saying Moana around 20. Office Christmas Party 18 to 20. It's going to be close. I'm going to say Moana takes first by a smidge, with Office Christmas Party within 1 million or 2 of them. And then Fantastic Beasts, maybe 10, 11 million. And you probably see Arrival and Allied around 6 million, 5.5 million. And everything else will drop below the $5 million mark this weekend. So this weekend is kind of like that transition weekend. Last week, it was kind of like holdovers. It's kind of a lull. This week, you're kind of like, okay, let's slowly edge out of it. Next week, you officially move out of this kind of quieter period during the holiday movie season in a big way, when you have the movie getting a lot of buzz, Collateral Beauty, awards, a lot of awards buzz, this movie from Warner Bros. That'll be opening in nearly 3,000 theaters, starring Will Smith. And a great cast. I mean, this is just a great cast. I'm actually looking forward to this movie. Will Smith, Helen Mirren, Edward Norton, Michael Pena, Naomi Harris, Keira Knightley, Kate Winslet. Great cast, and I'm looking forward to it. It looks like an interesting movie. And you also have Rogue One, a Star Wars story, opening in over 4,000 theaters. That will definitely be number one. And the question is going to be, and we'll talk more about this next week, is this: will there be any kind of piggyback effect for Rogue One when it comes to Force Awakens? Or will this react more like a spin-off movie and not see huge numbers? I don't think it's going to see the kind of numbers that the Force Awakens did. But you wonder if it can even rival that in kind of impact. Could it pull in an 80, 90, maybe even $100 million opening weekend next weekend? That's going to be the story going into the weekend. Can it do something like that? If it can, then that shows you that anything with a Star Wars name is just going to rake. Yeah, this movie is going to make a lot of money, especially internationally, because it's gonna do much better. It's gonna do very, very well in China, and it's gonna do. I mean, it's gonna have a major impact there, and have something that Force Awakens didn't, which is get impact on the Asian market. But can it, beyond that, can it do have this huge kind of impact? We'll see. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. That'll be a major story going into next weekend. We'll talk more about that obviously next week. Mike, do you have anything to add with the box office?
My phone's about to die, so no, I
Okay,
don't.
fair enough. All right, so with that being said, we move on. We're not gonna do TV highlights this week. We're gonna wait for those till Tuesday, mostly because I haven't gotten to a bunch of things and out of respect for time. So we'll kind of go over the last 2 weeks of TV highlights next week. So we'll table that till Tuesday. So look forward to that next week. Let's jump into wrestling because that's the only entertainment thing I wanted that we really had to get to. Let's jump into wrestling. TLC, which took place on Sunday, and many of you thought was terrible. Um, I would say, obviously, if you really, really, truly look at it, if you take anything away, first of all, you all should know by now, December pay-per-views are usually filler. There's not usually a lot that goes down at them. Okay, it's just the way it is. Yeah, you had the women's title change with Becky to Alexa Bliss. You had the Wyatts winning the tag titles, and they're going to freebird rule it. So you have that going on. So there were some things of impact, and there were some good matches. And AJ and Dean was great until Ellsworth showed up, and we had the pointless heel turn. So you look at TLC. Yay or nay, Mike? What did you think of TLC?
Very quickly, TLC had a few good moments. But it overall was fairly pointless.
Mm-hmm.
I will say Mrs. Ziggler again stole the show.
It did.
Fantastic. Becky and Alexa Bliss. That was a very good match. A little surprised at the finish, but it made sense based on where all the evidence was going, and now we're in the reign of Alexa Bliss. I was very disappointed with Nikki Bella and Carmella. Heath Slater and Rhino versus the Wyatts was fine. It had to go to the Wyatts, but then it ended up with that tag team kind of going out with a whimper, and that's extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. Because you can get miles out of that tag team, and the fact that you're not leaves me wondering where is all the smart booking going. So a lot of questions there. Corbin versus Kalisto, I thought would end up with a win with Kalisto. I was wrong. Anything to keep Baron Corbin strong, I guess, even though he has no direction at this point in time. Kalisto doesn't have any direction at this point in time, so I'm a little disappointed with that. Pointless in the end. Very pointless. And James Ellsworth ruined a fantastic main event between AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose. Very disappointing. That match did not need James Ellsworth in it. James Ellsworth has overstayed his welcome a little bit. He really has. Especially when when the story between AJ and Dean is now exclusively about him. What are you going to do? Have the WWE title match at the Royal Rumble be AJ Styles versus James Ellsworth? Are we really going to run that? Especially since the Raw might be running Owens versus Jericho versus Reigns versus Rollins more than likely. Are we going to waste all of our time doing that? I see you zoning out, dreaming of it. I will give you a hint. The match will last 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Very exact.
Look at the bright side. They'll give more time to the Owens match.
Yeah, right? They'd have to, by default. And that's the thing. That's the scary thing. Like, I don't know who's behind the Ellsworth nonsense, Daniel Bryan. And whoever that person is needs to wake up. Because, yes, his story was fun for a little bit, but it essentially and effectively ended after Braun Strowman chucked his ass off the stage. You want to make him a paid member of the roster? Fine. You did it? Great. Now he has a title match. Should have stayed out of the TLC match. Because Dean Ambrose wasn't going to win anyway.
Right.
So that's the thing. James Ellsworth needed to stay out of that match. He didn't. They made it all about him and not about the title. And that's the problem. On Raw, you can get away with it because Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, not Roman Reigns, especially not him, making the Universal title the central part of their friendship and, I guess, blossoming feud. That means something. On Raw, on SmackDown, James Ellsworth brings nothing to it. If you want him to go after, I don't know, the tag titles with somebody, sure, why not? If you want him to go after the Intercontinental title, he's never going to be Miz, but sure, why not? WWE title? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh no. That's all I got to say about that. It was a fairly pointless pay-per-view with a few highlights.
Again, I can't really add to it. It's just mind-boggling to me what they did with that. I mean, I expected Ellsworth to be involved. My take on it: if you're going to have him involved for storytelling purposes, have him show up early and get taken out early, and then leave it at that. And the focus is on AJ and Dean exclusively. And then you had Raw on Monday, which furthered a lot of things with the Owens Jericho stuff. Again, blossoming feud. And really, then at the main event, of course, with Charlotte acting like she was going to apologize to her father, and then having the ultimate heel moment, which really was awesome. And I give her a lot of credit because somebody mentioned this. I think it was even Justin that mentioned this. She's the female version of Miz on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
She just is. You want to watch her. She's charismatic. She just knows how to draw heat. It's perfect what she does. It was an effective segment. It was a really effective segment, and that's one instance where I thought having the main event was a good idea. Because I just thought it was perfect. So, I mean, that's all I can really take away from it. Set the tag team stuff up for future and everything. So, I mean, there was movement. A lot of people thought it was an awful show. I didn't think it was bad, but whatever. I'm not. We'll just let me just throw this out here because it's the only other thing that was sent to us that people want us to mention, and that is this, Mike. We've been talking a lot about Mickie James.
Mm-hmm.
She officially has signed a multi-year deal, and she will be on the SmackDown brand starting in January 2017.
That's a big get for SmackDown. It really is. It gives them an extra diva to kind of help promote their brand, especially since the Becky Lynch show featuring Alexa Bliss and, God forbid, Nikki Bella.
I could see that Becky Lynch, Mickie James feud coming now.
Mm-hmm. I can too. And
I look forward to it. It'll be good. So yeah, that's a big get, but that is official now. So they were toying with it. They extended an offer to, I think, 2 weeks ago, and apparently she's accepted. So you'll start seeing her in January 2017. So big news. That's a good get for WWE. Before we wind down, Mike, anything to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we'll move on. All right, so we are going to wind down. I know we kind of rushed through things in that, but due to time and other circumstances, I think we kind of had to. So we will, we will wind down. Feedback, questions, comments, reactions to things we said, topic ideas or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, and wrestling you want us to cover. Again, we really encourage your feedback right now. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. We have a wrestling show next Thursday. You want to send things in, or send things in before that, or again during the show next week, you can do that. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag IT Spotlight 411. And of course, you can find us on Facebook by searching for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and just make sure you like us when you find us. Make sure you follow us on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 to make sure you have. Make sure that you stay on top of things in regards to our show with scheduling. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes with that lately. So you can stay on top of scheduling and everything else. We post other things on there on our Facebook and Twitter feeds, so make sure you follow us on social media, get the latest on our show and any other things that we feel like talking about on social media. So make sure you follow us on social media. You can also search for In the Spotlight 411 on Google Plus and YouTube if you'd like to continue to stream us. Maybe you want to stream old episodes or look back at old episodes. Again, anything from October 2015 to tonight's episode, all of our recent stuff is available on Google Plus and YouTube anytime you want to stream. If you're somebody that wants to listen to us rather than stream us, and maybe you're interested in even older episodes of our show, maybe from 4, 5, 6, 7 years, 3, 4, 5 years ago, not 7, we're not there yet, but 3, 4, 5 years ago, or maybe you just missed an episode, you want to listen to us on the go, you can do that on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411, and you'll have access to every episode we've ever had over the 6 years of our show on those two sites. To search for In the Spotlight 411 on those sites, and you'll have access to that. So Podbean and iTunes for audio and listening to us on the go, and for every episode we've had over the 6 years, and of course, Google Plus and YouTube for more of our recent stuff, and if you prefer streaming the show. Those are all the ways to keep up with our show. If you miss an episode, miss part of an episode, you just want to check out episodes again anytime you want, you can do all that on those particular sites. So make sure that you remember that going forward. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
My phone's about to die. Time for bed.
I want to thank myself and our great show, pat myself on my back, and thank all of you for your continued support and your contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching, and to those that will be watching or listening later, thank you to you as well. Thank you for your patience to understand this week with the cancellation Tuesday and all the delays, and of course the technical difficulties tonight. We really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Again, In the Spotlight Football Blitz tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube Live. Look back at last week in NFL and college football. Look ahead to this week in NFL and college football. We will look at the college football playoffs and how it all worked out and everything else. All that tomorrow. Again, next week, hopefully 3 shows, Tuesday and Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, broadcasting and streaming live on YouTube Live. Sports and entertainment on Tuesday. Thursday, all wrestling show previewing WWE's Roadblock pay-per-view, and then of course next Friday the Football Blitz. That's for next week. But again, tomorrow In the Spotlight Football Blitz, that's our next show, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. And again, next primetime show next Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time here on YouTube Live. So until tomorrow for the Football Blitz, I hope you all have a good rest of your night. We'll talk to you tomorrow for the Football Blitz. Good night, everybody.